Hey, what's going on guys? It's Brain Bean here again. This is a video I've been meaning to make for a while, and judging by your comments on my last community post, a setup tour is something you've been wanting to see from me for quite a while. I kind of put it off for a while because I knew there were a few upgrades I was planning on getting and I wanted to make sure I had those first. And another thing before we get into the video itself, I just want to say that because I do swap out my stuff quite a bit when I'm doing reviews, my cables are not as clean as they probably could be, so just cut me a little bit of slack on that one because I do my best, and it's just because it's not practical for me to have it all zip tied up and cleaned up when I'm constantly changing things around to make reviews. So with that, let's go ahead and just take a look at my setup. Starting off the setup, I want to first just talk about the wall that I have set up behind my desk and kind of why I have everything the way it is there, and then we'll move on to the rest of the setup. So you'll notice immediately that I have some purple and charcoal acoustic foam set up behind there. The main reason for that is because I do a lot of voiceover recording and I like to eliminate as much of that reverberation as possible. Now what you won't see is I also have a ton of acoustic foam on the ceiling and behind me, as well as on both sides, to really help deaden the sound and give me a really nice environment for recording. It also really helps when I'm doing live recordings as well. And you'll see that I have two lights set up behind me. Those are from IKEA. I think they look really nice, and when I'm doing editing or I want to turn the lights down and just have those on, it gives a nice soft ambience. But it also functions as a light for streaming because I've already got those lights right there, so I can get my face nice and illuminated, and if I use green screen, that'll help with that as well. And then lastly, I also have a pair of JBL 305 studio monitors mounted on the walls up here, but we'll talk more about those a little bit later. Now, the last thing I want to point out is that I do have a blank space that you might be wondering why there's a hole there. And that's basically because I use it as a bit of a motivator, because one day I hope to have a silver or gold play button up there. And so when I'm editing or feeling tired or not in the mood to make videos, I can look up at that empty space and hope to fill it one day with a YouTube play button. So moving on to the desk itself. Now this is a fairly common setup that you'll probably see if you browse like PC Master Race a lot, or if you watch different tech YouTubers. It's a fairly common setup with people like that. It is a set of IKEA Alex drawers and an 8-foot Carl B walnut countertop. And kind of doing this IKEA hack desk gives you a ton of real estate. The countertop as a desktop is super solid. It's great for mounting monitors too. And it's just going to give you plenty of stability when you have basically 8 feet in between supports on either side. It's a little bit pricey, but compared to some really good desks out there, it's not too bad. I think you can pick it up for about 350 bucks. And I do recommend this configuration if you need a lot of desk real estate like I do. I love to have plenty of space where if I'm reviewing multiple keyboards, I can have them all set out at the desk. It kind of gives you a more professional type feel, and I'm all about having my studio space feel comfortable but also productive. Floating above my desk are my two displays. Now if you've watched my recent monitor reviews, you'll be familiar with these two. The main monitor is the Alienware AW3418DW 3440 by 1440p IPS 34-inch curved ultra wide. It has G-Sync and 100 Hz native refresh rate that's overclockable to 120 Hz. And this monitor is my dream come true for video editing as well as playing games. It kind of does it all. The refresh rate and G-Sync is amazing for video games, especially when you're playing on an IPS panel at this resolution. At the 21:9 aspect ratio, it's about as good as you're gonna get. But also having the resolution with the IPS panel is amazing for video editing because I can do my color correcting on this monitor. I can do, have all the screen real estate for everything that I'm doing. And then the monitor that I keep as my secondary monitor is a Pixio New PX277. It's a 27-inch IPS 2560 by 1440 monitor, so I still get that 1440p resolution, and it's an IPS panel. So not only do I get a little bit extra screen real estate when I'm editing, but I can also drag my previews over to this monitor and still get good color quality when I'm doing all of my color correcting and things like that. Both my monitors are supported by North Bayou VESA mounts that clip onto the desk. They have built-in cable management as well, and I feel like for the performance as well as the dynamic range that you can position with these mounts for the price, they're one of the better ones out there you can get on Amazon. And moving on to my peripherals. Now this is one of those things that for me tends to change almost on a daily basis, but for my go-to daily drivers when I'm not doing reviews and things like that, for my keyboard, I still use my K95 Platinum, and I use that with Corsair's white PBT keycap set. I like it because I feel like the K95 Platinum is the perfect blend between a typist enthusiast keyboard, and a gaming keyboard. So you get the gaming RGB factor, you get the dedicated macro keys, but you also get kind of that classy, more brushed aluminum look and the genuine Cherry MX switches. And with the PBT keycaps, you can still get an enthusiast level keyboard typing experience on it. So I feel like it's the best of both worlds. For my mouse, I'm still using my trusty Razer Death Adder Elite. I've been using the Razer Death Adder since 2013. For me, the shape just fits my hand perfectly, and I haven't been able to find a mouse that just fits my hand and feels as good to use as the Death Adder does. And the mouse pad is the Razer Firefly, and the main reason I went with that one is just because I feel like Razer's designed their mouse pad surface to go with their mice better, so I figured I would just keep it cohesive with that. Now for my audio, I'm using a pair of Audio-Technica ATH M50X headphones, and these are by far my favorite headphones. The sound quality and the comfort is just amazing. They're a little bit pricey, but they are fantastic headphones. Now I've got all of this running off of a Focusrite Scarlett 2i2 interface that I mounted underneath my desk. And I really like having it there because it's out of the way, it doesn't take up any space on top of my desk, and it's a small and slim enough interface that I can just kind of reach over and change whatever I need to change. Now also running off of that interface, again, like I said, is my pair of JBL 305 Studio monitors. I mounted those up just to kind of get, again, clear the desk real estate and have them up. I think they look pretty cool like that. And then also coming off of, since we're talking about audio, the voiceover mic that I use that I'm actually speaking to you guys right now is an Audio-Technica AT2020. I've got that mounted onto a Neewer mic arm. It's shock mounted, and I use 2 pop filters because I tend to yell into the microphone, and so I like to try to mitigate that as best as possible. Now I also use, when doing my live recordings, an Audio-Technica AT875R shotgun mic, and that's just for my live recordings to have it out of the way and still get good sound quality, and also for my keyboard typing tests, because that way I can get that microphone kind of laser beamed into where the keys are and have it out of the shot. Moving on to my pride and joy, the PC. If you guys aren't familiar with this PC, it is a Soldier 76 themed Overwatch build. I did this build in collaboration with Thermaltake and Gigabyte as well as Patriot. And this PC was kind of a long labor of love for me. It's custom painted, it's got custom acrylic work as well as a custom hard loop tubing. You'll notice right now the the fluid that I'm using in it is clear, and I decided to change out the red and go with the clear to kind of play with the red, white, and blue theme, and also I'd been messing with my lighting and I wanted to see how much the lights would catch. So that's why you'll see some red shots from when I first built it mixed in with those clear shots. Now moving on to the specs in the computer, it's got a i7-7700K processor, Gigabyte Aorus Z270X Gaming 5 motherboard. It's got 16 gigs of Corsair Vengeance DDR4 RGB 3000 megahertz. It has a Gigabyte G1 Gaming GTX 1080 graphics card. Also running 2 different 480 gigabyte Patriot Hellfire M.2 drives. That I have some custom sleeved cables. There's also obviously everything that goes into the hardline tubing. I'm going to have all of the links to all this stuff down in the description below, but rather than kind of talk your ear off by rattling off all of the individual specs, I figured I'd just leave it all down in the description. For those of you interested, you can check it out there. Now also, I'm rocking some Overwatch Funko Pop figures just to kind of tie it in a little bit more, and those move around my setup from time to time as well. And lastly in my setup, the chair I'm using right now, my current favorite, is the Secret Lab Omega 2018 in Ash Gray. And like I mentioned in that review, it's just an ultra plush chair. It feels really great to use, and for me, that's the one that I keep my butt in 9 times out of 10. Well, that's it for the setup tour, guys. I want to take a minute to say that if you've watched my last setup tour video, everything that you're seeing in this setup I have because of my YouTube channel. And a lot of that is because of you guys from watching it. So I just wanted to say thank you guys so much, because without you, I wouldn't have the setup that I have today. I wouldn't have the audience and the ability to keep making videos just like this one for you guys. So again, thank you so much for your continued support. course, if you enjoyed the video, you know what to do. Give it a big like to show your support. And if you're new here on the channel, I'd love to see you subscribe because I do have a lot more videos and reviews and things like that coming in the near future. Of course, you can always follow me on Twitter at BrainBeanGaming for real-time updates and sometimes exclusive giveaways on the Twitter feed. Well, that's it for the video, guys. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next one.